business tonight. We have our social, which is at ETM. And then also there will be an email. This is like the most exciting part. I should have just started with this, but we have just been officially announced as the top club in District 5. What is District 5? What does that even mean? I had to look it up. I think there's about 120 clubs from what I could tell in the system. It's very big. I don't know if it's geographic or anything, but literally in the last year, there's a lot of things that go into play in being the top club. It's number of memberships, people meeting their goals. There's probably 5 or 6 different goals like that we have to check on. The club officers having to be trained. So I think it's really amazing because there's a lot of clubs that you can be a part of in Toastmasters, and obviously we are the best. I'm glad you guys are here. I think there's just one other reminder. When you're coming up to speak, we're in the middle of handshaking and doing the elbow bump. So whatever you're comfortable with, go for it. And then I think we have maybe just one guest tonight. But you're a familiar face, you've been here before. Yeah, so if you don't mind just standing up and introducing yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Gordon. Third time that I'm here and getting real close to pulling the trigger. So I haven't had it speed yet, so let's see what happens.
Alright, well. Oh, yes, and another familiar face.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jeff Smith, and this is my third time as well, and I'm looking forward to joining the club, so thank you.
Okay, we are so glad that you guys came back. I'm just making sure I covered everything. Yes, and that is it. So I'd like to hand it over to our Toastmaster for the evening, and that is Sheila O'Connor.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to see everybody. I'm Sheila O'Connor, and I'm the Toastmaster. But you won't see much of me today, because today we have a different sort of format. We're here for an evaluation workshop. And before I want to introduce our facilitator, I decided I would look up what evaluation really means. So I looked in the dictionary, and evaluation is defined as the process of judging or calculating the quality, importance, amount, or value of something. So when you're evaluating a person's speech, those are the things that you should be considering when you are actually evaluating them. We have limited functionary roles today. We have Monica in the back. She's going to be the timer, and she's going to be timing the speeches, and then she's also going to be timing the facilitator and the evaluations. But the evaluations, as Gary will explain, it's a little bit of a different format today. So he'll explain that when he starts to explain what we're going to do today. And videographers are lovely Kathy Galife in the back, and she's going to videotape the entire, once Gary starts speaking, the entire workshop so that anyone can go back to it and get the tips or write down the tips that you missed. I just want to introduce Gary. Gary, as everybody knows, is a very valued member of our club. And he is what I believe to be one of the best evaluators in the club. And the reason is this, I was thinking about him today, and it's because he gives his own speech. So he does an incredible job of giving you amazing feedback, but it's a speech in and of itself. He has a theme, he has the hook, he has it all in there, where some evaluators, myself included, sort of feed off of the speaker. You did this, you should have maybe done this, you did this, that was great. Where Gary, he doesn't even need to do that because he's developed this whole internal format for himself, and he does an incredible job. And with that, Gary Penn, our goat.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? I'm really excited
excited to be giving this workshop this evening. When I was asked to do this, 6 weeks ago, immediately my thought was yes, which is pretty rare because I'm really busy. And as anybody knows, especially Terry, if she was here tonight, I get asked to volunteer for a lot of stuff, and I'm like, no, not doing that. So this one just hit me as yes, and Sheila, 24 hours later, I had literally jotted down the entire agenda in pencil and paper. I took a picture of it and I sent it to Sheila, and I said, let's make this happen, this is gonna be fun. Because I just had a vision of how it's gonna run, and that vision is to have a good time with it. So are we ready to have a good time with it? Because that's the goal. The goal is not boring, oh my God, because evaluations are kind of a dull topic, right? Like, you have to tell another peer adult things that are difficult to tell them, and that is generally awkward, which makes it an already nerve-wracking task that much worse. So the way that we're going to approach tonight is we're going to have speakers, formal speakers. We have 2 speakers. We've purposely chosen speakers that are kind of mid-level in their tenure with Toastmasters and extremely tenured in Toastmasters, because it's difficult to evaluate both sets. It's not necessarily easier to evaluate somebody that is a new speaker, and it's not necessarily more difficult to evaluate somebody that is a seasoned speaker. They both have their opportunities and challenges. And then we're gonna have real-time feedback from the audience. So we are gonna say, what did we see? What do we think we would do if we were evaluators? So during the speeches tonight, you all have paper on the back of your agenda or anywhere that you have paper. You need to put down that you are the evaluator of the speech. And the reason for that is twofold. One, so that you can be an active audience member, but 2, because you might actually get called up here to give that evaluation. And that evaluation is not going to be super formal. We're going to start out, we're going to attempt to be following a structure, but we're going to have some notes up here, we're going to have things that you can work off of, and we might interrupt you and say, okay, back up, try that intro again, back up, try that conclusion again, whatever it is. We're going to try to practice in real time. Obviously not everybody's going to get up and evaluate tonight, but we'll get a chance to hear from a couple different people, and all of you will get to participate. Sound good? Okay, so quickly let's talk about the structure of an evaluation. There are a million ways to structure something. The way that I would recommend structuring something for tonight, we're going to choose one. Because we can't go over a million, and if you don't choose one, you get mixed up. There's so many things going through your head, and you don't know where to start, you don't know where to finish, and you end up, what Sheila just referenced, you just go off of the speaker. And you want to go off the speaker, obviously you want to pay attention to the speaker. We're going to follow a structure, and the structure is fairly rote, it's fairly straightforward. I wrote it up here, it's also on your agenda. First you start with introduction. The introduction is, what did you hear tonight from the speaker that makes it unique and interesting to the audience, so that you're reflecting the speaker's energy back on the audience. So if Moeko spoke about her daughter's experience with anxiety a couple weeks ago, last week? You might say, hey, Moeko, we heard a really great speech from Moeko tonight. And I really enjoyed that because I looked around during that speech and I saw all of the audience connecting with Moeko on an emotional level. End of intro. Stop there. Don't add more. Don't go off on some other tangent. Choose an intro, choose a point to focus on, and get your audience hooked. So when I say excitement, that's not necessarily, emotion and anxiety is not necessarily exciting, but I engage the audience. Because I chose something that connects, that all of the audience connected with. If it was a humorous speech, choose a joke that was really funny. If it was an emotional speech, thank the speaker for being vulnerable in front of an audience. The next piece is tell them what you're going to tell them. Now, this we have not done a lot in this club, but because everybody is, what I've heard from a lot of you is, I don't know how to give an eval. and I get nervous and I'm not sure what to do. So set up what you're going to tell the speaker. Keith, I loved your speech this evening, blah, 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 intro. Tonight, I'm gonna give you 2 points of feedback that I think you did really, really well on, and 3 points of feedback that I think you could improve on. Right, you just set up your outline for the audience. So now the audience is, all right, I know exactly where he's gonna go with this. Then you're gonna get into, what is KISS? What is that? KISS is, keep it simple, stupid. Follow tell them what you're gonna tell them. That's it. Do not vary off the path. Do not get stuck on a point. This is where evals go really south. People they look at their notes and they have copious notes because they wrote down everything the speaker said. Stick to your 5 points. Your 5 points are a pro, a suggestion, a suggestion, a suggestion, a pro. It doesn't, again, this is one format. It doesn't have to be this. It could be 2 suggestions and 2 pros. What do you see about this? This is the famous sandwich method. A pro on each side is the buns, and the suggestions in the middle is the meat. Right? So, we have lots of plant-based in here. It's the tofu. So you want to make sure that you're following that structure, and I know that your notes are going to be filled with stuff. Choose your 5 points before you get up here as an evaluator. My suggestion, throw away your notes. Don't bring them up here with you. Bring up your PSSSP. Write it on your hand. Do whatever. Put it on a note card. Then the only thing that you have is your structure. Tell them what you're going to tell them. PSSSP. Your intro. Love the emotional connection. Thank you very much. And then you can tell them what you told them. Now, this works really well for speeches. This is a speech concept of, I'm going to review what I just told you as a speaker. This piece is optional. It depends on if you need to fill time in your evaluation, or if you feel like you're running short, you can leave that out and just come to your exit. But that is, I was really glad to be able to review these points with you this evening. We covered this and this. I think you did all that stuff really well. But that isn't your exit. All too often, the way that we exit is we run out of time and we say, thank you very much, I'm looking forward to your next one. Oh my gosh, if we all hear that again, we're gonna quit Toastmasters. Right? We've heard it so many times. I'm looking forward to your next one, and your next one, and your next. Yes, we're all looking forward to the next one. Of course we are, that's why we're here. Try to give them something that's a takeaway, or something that you really enjoy. The comic elements that you hit upon tonight really touched us as a club. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for giving us something to laugh about in a difficult time. That's it. Exit. Thank you. Introduce the Toastmaster. Don't abandon the lectern, the stage, the podium, wherever you are. Shake the hand. Exit. So the structure is pretty straightforward. It sounds like a lot because I just introduced it for 4 minutes, but it's pretty straightforward. If you leave with nothing else tonight, when you're an evaluator, write down 5 things, come up here with 5 things. You can take an entire page of notes. I do every time. Afterward, I boil it down. And actually, I'll give you a pro tip. As I write mine, I put checks and minuses. So that when I review it afterward, because you have very little time to prepare, when you have a 5-minute break to prepare your eval, you know your checks and your minuses. Right? So, okay, I wrote down 3 checks, I gotta choose 2 for P and P. I wrote down only 2 minuses, do I need to come up with another one? Is there another suggestion having thought about the whole speech? So that's an option. There's a ton of stuff we're gonna come back to in terms of you'll see other bullets on your agenda in terms of what to look for, things like that. But let's get into the first speaker and try this out, right? Because we have the whole evening dedicated to this, and we're gonna give it a shot. Sound good? Okay. So, I had things
Gary, there's a question.
right behind me.
Sorry?
There's a question in the audience.
There's a question, yes.
Yeah,
So-
could you explain what you mean by no milk toast policy?
Yes. Yes. So for those that were here last week, our word of the day was milquetoast, which I actually admittedly did not know the word, and I thought it was an awesome word. which is essentially not being as forthright and forthcoming and outgoing as you potentially could be, right? It's being a little shy and reserved and meek. When you're an evaluator, it's a great question, because when you're an evaluator, half the battle is the same half the battle you have when you're a speaker. Be present. You could be shaking. It doesn't matter, you might be nervous. Be present and be assured of what you are going to say. That comes easier if you have PSSSP lined up and ready to go, because you know exactly what you're going to say. But if you're not sure, it's the same thing as a manager sitting down with an employee and saying, oh, well, I have something to tell you, and I don't know, Katie, but you don't underperform this week. Katie doesn't want to hear that. She wants to hear, Katie, you're a great employee.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed X, Y, and Z. I have noticed when you interact with Moeco that there's been some conflict, right? You need to use that management technique. Some of us know it by sitting in corporate America for 30 years. It's the same thing. You have to be confident up here. And when you are, the speaker will listen to you, the audience will follow you, and the results of your feedback will be, wow, those are really great evaluation. Like, oh, I just chose positives and negatives. So that's what no milk toast policy is. Great question. Okay, I'm going to introduce our first speaker. And let me see, Manjul's going first, all right? Okay, so Manjul's going to be our first speaker. And by the way, thank you speakers tonight, because our speakers are going to get beat up by multiple volunteer evaluators, by the audience, by me. So they are brave souls with thick skin. So thank you very much in advance to both of our speakers. Manjul is giving a speech from Level 2 Presentation Mastery. It is Introduction to Mentorship. The title of her speech is An Ayurvedic Approach to Health. According to WHO, health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. This was not what I thought health was. After meeting my mentor, my perspective on health changed. I learned how small, consistent changes in our daily life can have a big impact on our overall well-being and happiness. In this speech, I will speak about how I seek my mentor out and her impact on my wellness journey using Ayurveda. Please welcome Manjul Mishra. Manjul Mishra, an Ayurvedic approach to health.
I tried to move my legs, but I had excruciating pain on my ankles. I tried to get up from the bed. I had pain in my elbow, in my wrist, in my knuckles. I didn't know what was going on. I laid in the bed and thought about it. What happened? What did I do that was wrong? I thought I was healthy. I had never taken a sick day off in my entire life till that point. And here I was, laying on the bed in severe pain, helpless. Went to Toastmaster, and guess. It was summer of 2010, and I did not know what to do. I would ask you to think about these three things, what I thought the health was. Do you think being healthy means absence of diseases? Do you think if you go to gym 5 times a week, you are healthy enough? Do you think if your mind is sharp, not cloudy, you can make clear decisions, then you are healthy? Well, I thought that's what the health was. But here I was, not able to get up from my own bed. I went to see a doctor later. He wrote multiple tests, and it came out that I had an autoimmune disorder known as rheumatoid arthritis. So in this disease, your immune system goes out of whack and it starts attacking all the joints of the body, and it's very aggressive. If you do not treat it promptly, your joints can get deformed. So I googled, there were very scary pictures on the internet. There is only one course of action. So doctor prescribed me medicine, came up with long side effects, but there was one warning that alarmed me that said, by taking this medication, you will be prone to serious infections that may lead up to hospitalization and death. I thought, what was the point of taking the medication? But I had no choice at that point. I went ahead, started the medication. I was depressed. And a couple of days later, when I was driving, I heard a radio talk show. And that's where I heard my mentor for the first time. Her name was Dr. Apte, and she was an Ayurvedic doctor. She was talking about Ayurveda. Ayurveda is an Asian medical science from India. I was familiar with it because my grandfather was an Ayurvedic doctor. And she was talking about how you can prevent diseases from happening if you follow just simple things in your life. And then she went on and saying, even though you are diagnosed with something, you can manage your disease with Ayurveda. So I tried to find out an Ayurvedic doctor in the United States. I did find one, started following it. I felt much better. And then after a year or so, I thought I'll go meet Dr. Apte because I have heard from somewhere that she's teaching Ayurveda. Then I learned Ayurveda from her. And she was such a compassionate person. I just loved her. So there are simple things she taught me about and she asked me to incorporate it in my life. I will give a couple of them. Lesson number 1, eat only when you are hungry. Sounds simple enough. But I ate whenever I got bored. I ate when I was emotionally distressed. I ate when I was happy. I ate when I was watching TV. I said, okay, it should be simple because looking at my dog, who I could never feed if he was not hungry. He would eat only when he was hungry. And he lived up to be 15-year-old. So that was the lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, she told me everybody has an internal clock of 24 hours in our brain, which adjusts, regulates our sleepiness and our alertness based on how is the light outside. If there is a change, we want to change the rhythm, the natural rhythm, body will get into the stress and diseases will follow. I said, could that be possible? Then I remembered my hamsters. I could never make them sleep during the night. They would always sleep during the day. Wake up in the night. No matter you turn the lights on, off, they were not affected. So I thought, yeah, it is possible. They follow their rhythm. Why can't I follow it? Lesson number 3, get rid of all the toxins. And I was lucky, I'll go join a detox program. She said, no, everything you take in through your senses is your food, your thoughts, your emotions, whatever you are watching every day, whatever you are listening, everything your body needs to digest. If you cannot digest, they will ferment, they will rot, and your body will create toxins. So pay attention, share it with someone. Take out your emotions, take out your hidden feelings. If you cannot talk to your human being, talk to your pets. Go shout it out in front of a tree. I don't care. Get it out of your system. I got into habit of that. Slowly it's improved. She has been a great help in my entire wellness journey, and I'm happy to report I'm not on any medication. None of my joint is affected right now. I do plan to take medication back sometime in the future if something happens. But I would encourage you all, if you have time, go seek out, go look up Ayurveda and try to incorporate little changes in your life. can change your life like Dr. R did, and I will do it.
Thank you, Manjul. Would you scribe it for me? Okay.
You want the down the middle?
Yeah, I think we'll do, exactly, we'll do some checks and we'll do some minuses and we'll see where we land. So first let's think about what we looked for. What were things that people, not necessarily what did you find, but what were you looking for when you were looking at this, Steve?
Vocal variety.
Vocal variety, so there you go. So vocal, and did you think that, since we're looking at these particular things, maybe we'll look at examples. Did you think that there was room to improve vocal variety?
I would say, at least from my perspective, I thought it was okay.
Okay, I saw Kathleen nodding her head. Did Kathleen, do you have a thought on that?
Yes, I thought that she could have maybe projected her voice more, and that's something that she needs to work on, and also leverage that to try to make points more.
Okay, yeah. I had a thought on vocal variety too. Anybody, let's keep on that topic. Anybody else vocal variety thoughts?
Yeah, same thing. It was a bit difficult to hear her, so she could maybe put more force into her
Projection.
yeah.
So I have a question, just
Yeah.
to play devil's advocate.
Yeah,
here.
please.
So, for all those who might be pondering the same thing, what do we define vocal variety as?
That's a great question. I look at vocal variety in two ways. One, are you using your voice effectively to keep the audience engaged? So that can be projection, it can also be volume. So sometimes you need to be really quiet, and sometimes you need to get everybody's attention. And then there's the other aspect of vocal variety that more seasoned speakers use in more complex speeches that require it, where you have characters or things like that. So I'll give my example of that. The one that I wrote down, which is related to vocal variety, but very different. I was in the front row, I didn't even notice the projection. But one of the things I thought of was when you were talking about the warning on the label for the drugs. Maybe you play it up a little bit or say it in a different voice so that this is prone to serious infection and death. It's like, what? Like, it's just like, and it brings it into a whole different level because now you're changing voice, but you're using vocal variety. Other thoughts around vocal variety? Okay, what else did you look for?
Eye contact.
Eye contact. And did you think that Manjul was doing a pretty good job of that? Was she focused
I
on?
think that she was kind of just focusing forward, nervous, and with her hands right in front of her, instead of looking at the audience and keeping contact with everyone around.
Okay, yeah, great feedback. Anybody else with eye contact or engage? We'll call it engagement with the audience. Anybody see any?
I think it was good at the end when she was saying, I want you, this is what my job for you is. That she then really did make the eye contact and said you have a job to do.
Right, so maybe the check is there was a strong call to action at the end, which happened to involve good eye contact. It was both, right? It was the classic leave with, there's lots of ways to exit a speech. One way is a call to action. She did that effectively. Brian, you raised your hand.
Yeah, in terms of engaging the audience and using the stage more, she seemed to stay very centered in the middle and not really engaging the far reaches of the audience on each side.
Got it. So that's an interesting one, because one of the things I thought of, and I've evaluated Manjul before, and she said, I actually don't want to, when I move, I don't want to move without purpose. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be somewhat centered, and that works. But it's interesting, your finding is it does work, but then you have to use your eyes to get all the way back to Stephen and Kathleen in the back of the room, right? So that's interesting. So it's almost both. You could use that in the evaluation of, hey, I actually appreciated the fact that you moved a little bit, but not extremes. However, your limited movement lends itself to needing to really use your eyes to connect with the audience. Yes?
Yeah, so I had some thoughts on that too, because I'm not a fan of the pacing, like pacing for pacing's sake. I just don't like that. So I thought she was okay not moving around, but I would have liked her to kind of be centered and move out, like almost engaged in. But again, like it would have been okay standing there, but just again moving forward just a little to be
just to kind of
exactly
to hook the audience in a
or
little
even
bit.
just standing right there. Because
it makes a
then
big difference.
It's like more engaged with everybody, even without like because the pacing is.
Love this. Yeah. So Kathy.
To your point, Monica, when you were giving your 3 takeaways, your lessons, coming up closer, because then it's another level of engagement. Again, just to add to that, with your 3 takeaways, the 3 lessons you've gotten, coming closer to the audience, or moving, strategically on the stage without being so overdone.
Love it. Katie.
I always look for structure in speech, and I thought, Manjula, you did a really good job. You had an intro, you had 3 very clear points, and then an ending. And to me, that always makes a speech better when there's a structure.
I think, although there wasn't a whole lot of movement, I think her like hand gestures and pointing her calf about her calf. And, just little subtle hand gestures were good.
I wrote that one down too. The body, the speech almost lent itself to that body movement. I love the calf at the beginning and the elbow. It was good. Yeah. Who else?
I would have liked you to define Ayurvedic, what that actually, what that word meant. Because I sort of think I know what it is, but I would love to have had a definition, or when you're looking for like that kind of doctor, what kind of doctor you're looking for.
I would like to add to what you were saying, that I have heard of Ayurvedic medicine, but I'm from the older generation who traditional medicine, as we know, it is overwhelmingly what takes care of our illnesses, and this seems to be a very natural way of reconnecting with your inners, basically. How to manage pain, and I'm very close to what you have. I have also rheumatoid arthritis, and I try to not to take medication, and so this was a very interesting topic for me to get into it, and I would have liked to have a little bit more elaboration on the medicine itself, but it was very, very interesting.
That's good feedback. The thing I noticed, what's interesting is the intro that you gave, Manjula, was seamless. You gave this great intro and you talked about, you hooked Chris, you hooked me with it. All of a sudden we're kind of in your story, and I didn't even realize that you were probably 45 seconds into your speech, and then you came back and said, fellow Toastmasters. And I thought, oh man, she totally hooked me. The hook was great. So maybe we can combine those things in an evaluation, right? Which is, you had this great introduction. This is your first P, right, in your PSSSP. You had this great introduction. The first thing that I think that you might improve, however, is just adding a definition to that introduction of what is Ayurveda. Because I think you might have lost some of the audience with not knowing the definition of the term, right? So they kind of go together, and then you're naturally flowing into your evaluation. All right, what other areas did you find? We've covered vocals, we've covered movement, we've covered structure.
This is more of a question. I don't know if it's a P or an S.
Yes.
But she referred to her hamsters, and I was here when she gave her previous speech about the hamsters. So I knew what she's talking about. But I wanted to ask: is this a good practice to reference something else? Did everyone get that, or do we do that usually?
I guess we poll the audience. I got it. I had heard the same speech with what Manjula's used animal analogies before.
I don't think it mattered. I didn't hear.
Did everybody? Everybody follow?
I got it.
On that topic, one thing I noticed was you gave 3 lessons. Yeah, see?
Oh, I think I know what you're gonna say. I thought that the last one was gonna have an animal.
Right, me too. Because the first one had the dog, the second one had the hamster, and I was waiting for the third one. I was like, where's the shark? Or
I had one actually in the beginning.
So, but yeah, it was almost like I expected it because it was the structure of lesson, animal shows it, and you did that in your other speech too. How the dog taught you, right? What else? What else can we look for? Yeah.
I thought she did a good job asking questions in between. Yeah. Like what does health mean?
Yeah. Yep. Love that. Yeah, it's good to reflect back to the audience to get them thinking because you've hooked them now. So now their brains are going and you start to pose questions. I don't know, like this is so deep. What else?
This is related to structure, but I just thought she did an excellent job storytelling.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I was listening the whole way, and then related to structure, I think that the flip side of that is flow.
Yeah.
That's not an easy thing to achieve.
Yes,
So,
agreed. Yeah, it was really well structured and getting into you kind of lead up to with the story to the medicine bottle, and then you could lose everybody with the doctor, right? It's like 3 lessons, but she did a great job of kind of keeping the story flow. It felt like a story.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my comment, is like, can we just all, like, congratulate, she's just such a great storyteller.
Yeah. That was really good.
Every time Manjul gets up there, I know I'm gonna be entertained, because she's such a great storyteller.
Yeah.
And I love how she brings in her animals, because
Yeah.
it is so relatable. It's like, you know, she does it so effectively to underscore or to highlight the point that she's trying to make.
Yes.
So.
And one of the things that goes is kind of the unsung hero. Any filler words? I didn't notice a single one.
No.
Like perfect speech in terms of filler words, not a lot of pacing, very focused, good structure, good storytelling. It was a fantastic speech. So it's hard to find stuff, right? It's hard to find the stuff to evaluate because you hear a speech like that and you think, she didn't really fumble through it, she didn't use a bunch of filler words, she didn't lose her place. All right, maybe I would have added some movement, but what do I do with this? And that's where you kind of get into your structure and you look at all your notes on your paper and you think, okay, this is a lot. So to come back to the original concept, a lot of us come up, we have our notes, and we just, so I really like this, and this, and this, and then we get nervous about giving the harder feedback. And we just start a litany of all the good stuff. This is great, I love your speech, and you get to 2 minutes and 15 seconds. The only thing that I might have changed is a definition at the end, but overall it was great. Thank you very much, Manuel. And then, like, okay, she didn't learn anything. The audience is confused because it was supposed to be evaluating a little bit equally both sides of the speech.
Well, I also think that repeating the speech back is horrible. When you say you're going over your list, and then you said this, and then you did this, and then you did this, without saying, like, that was great because 3 things is really important. Use of 3 is incredible in all speeches. You know, using the animals makes it relatable. You can't just say, I like this, I like this, I like this. Because that just, we all just listened to it, we all heard the answer.
Totally agree. So one of the things that you'll see on the agenda is what to add. Right, so what to add, I listed comedy, entertainment, demonstration. I wouldn't try this on eval 1. It's hard enough to just get PSSSP. But what makes for a great evaluation is if you can demonstrate to contest, the judges, to the audience, to the speaker, what it is they would do. So the example of vocal variety, where I changed my voice for the medicine bottle, was be the official advertisement on the medicine bottle that says you'll die. Like, that's funny. Like, why is it funny? All I did was repeat exactly what she did. I just demonstrated a way that you might do it differently. Or if we're talking about space, you know, Manjul, I might come out a little because the audience feels a little bit more engaged when I come out. And then when I talk about the lessons I've learned, I might take a broader perspective. So things like that, if you just demonstrate it. Now, that is admittedly, it is not that easy. I realize that in my head, sometimes it's hard for me to realize that I'm old enough that I've been in Toastmasters for 16 years, so some of that stuff just comes naturally to me to be able to do that, and it doesn't come naturally to everybody. But if you're feeling comfortable with an eval, and you're like, hey, I have 5 solid points, and I know how to give the intro, and I know what I'm gonna say, hey, one of those points lends itself to literally demonstrating something different. And it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to like come up and do a song and dance routine because like you look ridiculous, right? But you have to be willing to do it. Okay, knowing that, do we have a volunteer for somebody that wants to come up and try to put a PSSSP together? Keep in mind, you can use a cheat sheet, you can use your notes, we might interrupt you, this is not a formal eval, we're just practicing here the concept of putting together what we just heard. You have a lot of your work literally cut out for you, so who wants to try to put it together? Otherwise, you will be voluntold if you. Keith's gonna give it a shot. All right, Keith. So timer, we'll try 2 to 3. Yeah. We'll try 2 to 3 minutes, and if we interrupt, we'll pause the time and keep going.
Jewel, where'd you go? Oh, there you go. I loved your speech. Loved your speech. One of the things that I liked about it was the way you came up and you just paused and you looked at everybody. What I would like to see you work on is I'd love to see you come up and engage us a little more. Even though I know you don't like to move around a lot, just get close to us. I think it would also help with your projection, which has gotten so much better. Your enunciation, your projection is getting so much better. And I think if you came up and got engaged here, it would help with the people in the back being able to hear you more. I think it would also be great if you engaged everybody with your eyes in the ground. Recognizing you don't want to be a lion or a tiger outside of a cage, but if you could engage us, just with your body, with your eyes, coming up, engaging us, I think that would help so much more when you're doing your speech. Overall, I thought the speech was so valuable to all of us because it had so much great information that some of us are dealing with now, but all of us will probably be dealing with at some point in the future. Thank you so much.
So how was the timer?
You sure? It was
How
minute
short?
and a half.
Minute and a half. Okay, so I heard a PSSP. There's probably room for another. I think we're thinking on the fly here, so I think Keith's just trying to come up with the structure. But if you added that third, right, he's right there. He had an intro, he had a pro, he bonus points, he threw in the demonstration, and hey, if you moved a little bit closer, you might connect with your audience. And the way, did it feel threatening in any way? It felt like pretty positive feedback, right? He was kind of demonstrated using your eyes to connect with your audience, he demonstrated. Sometimes the feedback that's given feels less threatening if you demonstrate it. Because you just did it yourself, and it's like, oh, it's so much more human because I just saw it come to life. And when you see it come to life, it's not just, it doesn't bring back your scars of your first manager who had 0 years experience and it's like marking you down, or your teacher who marked you down for something. Instead, it feels more interactive and organic. So I'm glad that Keith was able to do that because it felt organic and it makes it feel so approachable. All right, who wants to try? We're gonna do one more before we take a break. Are we at break time? Timing-ish?
Break at 7:47. Yeah.
Okay, so we have time for one more. Who wants to be volunteer told to come up? Chris, come on up.
Nervous about doing the evaluation because I can't really write that good.
Yeah.
So
all right.
This will be fun to kind of just
all
throw
right.
it out there. I haven't tried using my phone tonight, so all right. So maybe I'll create a little structure here. So Manjul, amazing speech tonight. What I'll be telling you is a few positive things that I really enjoyed about your speech, followed by a few critiques that you could possibly work on, and also some other things that were really awesome. I really enjoyed although you didn't move around that frequently and didn't use maybe the whole space on the stage, I did enjoy your subtle gestures, pointing to your calf, your elbow, and also your continued pet references that we all can relate to, and it's very like heartwarming when you talk about things that are close to you. Things that you could work on, possibly some more projection, maybe vocal variety when you're talking about more, I guess, dramatic things in your story. Raise your voice, project it, make the audience feel excited, and then maybe when you want to have them kind of look in for more attention, kind of go quiet, things like that. And then we have eye contact, looking around the stage and engaging with multiple things in the audience. You were pretty focused on the back of the room, so maybe just wander around the room, make sure you're engaging with, doing those subtle movements to engage with the entire audience. And then I would say to
Green.
was it?
We have green. I'm just checking time.
Oh.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't see it, so okay. Okay, so I'm gonna interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
So as a suggestion,
Yeah.
if you see green,
Okay. Yeah.
right, think to yourself like, do I want to do another positive? Do I want to wrap it up with like one more
Outros.
and then do I want to have the positive and then the outro? Do I want to choose one from the list?
Yeah.
Because you're using it. I know this is new to you, and you're
Yeah.
using it super effectively. So as soon as you hit green, like you could literally do whatever you want. It's kind of like you're free to like, do I do P and then the N? Do I SP N? It's kind of world's
Yeah.
oyster.
Okay. Sweet. So kind of just wrap it up.
Wrap it, do whatever you want.
Yeah. So Manjul, I just want to leave by saying what an amazing speech that was by all of those amazing references, and we all took away so much by learning about the Western, new, different style medicines that we can all relate to, because our pharmaceuticals are so into shoving pills and fun things down our throat that does actually more damage. So I really applaud you for that, and thank you for that informative speech.
So Chris, given an eval before, first one?
Yeah, first one.
First one. So the structure works, right? It's not necessarily always intuitive because it takes a little while to learn the structure and memorize the structure. But imagine if Chris had taken his notes during the meeting and he followed the structure and he was like, I'm just going to choose ESSSP. It was a great evaluation, right? He hit on all the points. It's not always easy to, obviously as a group we've come up with some really good, we came up with like, engaging your audience and eye contact and projection and all kinds of things that you might not come up with on your own. But you'll come up with the basics. You'll come up with enough for at least PSSP. And if you have an intro and you have an interesting exit, which I loved your exit because it's telling about how it actually is relevant to the audience, right? So you gave us something very relevant. Thank you for that. It wasn't thanks. I look forward to your next one. It's like anything other than that. So we have the structure of what we need. When we come back from the break, we're gonna have a second speech from Katie. We're gonna go through the same process again. We're gonna look for the same things again. So now you're all warmed up. So now you know what to look for. Look for vocal variety, look for movement, look for gestures, look for eye contact, look for pauses, look for the basics. If it's a newer speaker, there might be double clutches where you start again, which I think I've done 3 times today. Look for filler words. There's all kinds of things that you can look for that are the basic building blocks, and just find examples. So we'll see you after the break. Thank you.
5 minutes.
Please,